Hi, hope having a great day. You're watching JG Entertainment, and for this video, I'm gonna go over what I think are gonna be the top 10 biggest box office hits of 2023. As always, this is just my personal prediction of what I know from the industry and how much the movies are gonna make. But feel free to leave yours down in the comments, and it's gonna be really interesting to just look back at it a year from now whenever I see, oh, like what was the biggest, what was the smallest. I think it's gonna be really interesting. So yeah. Just really interesting, but feel free to leave your own predictions down in the comments. Or argue my predictions as well. I'm very interested and I'll definitely respond to your comments. So yeah, let's get started. Also, just one quick disclaimer. My voice is kind of gone a little bit, so if my voice sounds a little bit weird or a little bit low, or it's just that my voice is a little bit gone, so I'm very sorry about that. But yeah, let's go with the honorable mentions first. And some movies I think that could be really big hits, but also could be very big flops and not make it to the top 10 are these. And let's start with Barbie. I think Barbie has a lot of potential. I think whenever the trailer came out, it got a lot of attention, and it has been getting a lot of attention. However, I think it's really going to depend on how the movie is received. If the movie is received like terribly, like if people don't like it, then the movie's not going to be a box office hit. Now, if the movie is received like with a positive reception, like if the critics like it and the audience likes it, then I think this movie could very easily make it to the top 10. So yeah, it's just really going to depend on the reception for this movie, and I'm not so sure. I personally felt like the trailer was a little bit divisive. I personally did not like the trailer that much, to be honest. So I'm very, very skeptical about this. Just because I like the trailer, I might be a little bit biased in putting it not in the top 10. But if you like the trailer, then you might be putting it in the top 10. I don't know. But it's going to be very close. Also, Margot Robbie has not been the biggest box office hit this year, as you can see by all the movies that she was in this year that all flopped. So we're really going to have to wait and see. Okay, moving on to the next one from what I mentioned, and that's Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer opens the same day as Barbie, which is also a huge problem for both of these movies. And this is from Christopher Nolan, and I think this movie could be a huge hit because it's Christopher Nolan, and I think it could be very well received by critics and audiences. And I think this could definitely push it to be one of like the bigger box offices this year. And also full of star power: Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh. I mean, these are all Emily Blunt. I mean, these are all actors or actresses that can literally deliver on the box office, literally. And like, especially Robert Downey Jr. This is the first time he shows up on screen since the Endgame. So I think that could be like something huge for the box office. However, the thing about this is that it's about a nuclear weapon, a nuclear bomb, and while I think it's a very interesting concept to explore in film, I don't know if it's gonna be like the most commercial way for a movie to get a box office, because it is something really dark and it's something that we still deal with today. So we'll see if that's possible, if this movie can get to a top 10 or not. But I think it's probably gonna be a hit. I just don't know how much of a hit it's going to be. Alright, the other movie that could be in the top 10 is Aquaman 2, and most likely not, it might actually be in the top 10, but it's really going to depend on what happens with DC this whole year. Like, if we get like the news by the end of the year that this movie does not matter at all, like 0%, I think that's really going to hurt the box office. It also depends if it's well received or not well received. I mean, it's really going to depend on so many stuff for this movie. This movie is like super just like, I feel bad for this movie because I feel this movie should have come out this year, but Warner Brothers lost all the money, so they couldn't release it, so they could move it on to next year. And you can tell that this is affecting this movie negatively, because now DC is about to reboot, James Gunn's about to announce his whole new plans, and I don't think Aquaman, at least this Aquaman, is going to be part of it. So that's going to hurt this movie a lot. Besides that, if it's well received, badly received, then this movie is just going to flop completely. Like, it really has to deliver some unique experience for it to be a hit. So we'll find out if it's a hit or not. The first movie isn't also very much loved. I mean, they reached $1 billion, but nobody really talks about it no more, so it really, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to hit, to be honest. The next one is The Flash, also a DC movie, and this is another movie where it's super controversial. You have Ursa Miller as the lead, who has been super controversial. However, you have other characters like Supergirl or Michael Keaton, and Ben Affleck's Batman is in here, and all that type of stuff, which could push the movie to be a hit. I mean, and also it has like a 80% or like all in the 80s for like its tested scores for the audiences, which is as high as The Dark Knight. Like, it's a lot higher than anything that DC has made in like the past years. Like, I mean, years, like a lot of years. So that means that this movie is probably really good. Not gonna lie, this movie is probably really good. However, just due to the huge controversy that this movie has, I mean, it really is super controversial. And also the DC news, once again, like maybe this movie won't matter at all, just because DC is moving along ahead beyond these movies. Like, this movies won't matter. They're just gonna build a new universe. I mean, it could really cause this movie to flop big time, and I do think it's gonna flop big time, but just because I have heard the movie is really good, there is a chance that it might be a hit. So I'm just putting it in the honorable mention as maybe, but I don't really have that much faith on it. But we'll see. I'm very curious to see how this movie goes. Next one is Captain Marvel 2, and this movie is sorry, a movie where I'm not really sure if it's gonna be a hit or a flop. The first movie did make over $1 billion, But it was between Infinity War and Endgame, and we were promised that she was going to be a huge part of Endgame, so that's why everybody went to go see it. But however, not a lot of people liked the first movie, so that's probably going to be negative towards this movie. And also, you saw how much big Black Panther 1 was, and then you see Wakanda Forever, and it has definitely gone smaller. That doesn't mean that it was a flop or nothing, but it has definitely gone smaller, so I don't think it's going to make $1 billion at all. But it could still be a hit. It could still be in the top 10. I'm not exactly sure though. You do have Miss Marvel, which is pretty cool, but she's also from the smallest Disney Plus show we've had to date, so there's that. And I have heard like it's gonna be something super aggressive, kind of like She-Hulk was, and She-Hulk did not work out. So it's gonna be something really interesting to just find out if it's gonna work out or not. I personally think it's gonna make it to the top 10 maybe, but I'm also kind of skeptical on it, so I decided to just leave it an honorable mention. So yeah, that's where it is. And then Wonka. Wonka can be a hit. It cannot be a hit. It might not even come out this year because it's all the way to the end of the year, and I don't know where they're at. But it does have Timothée Chalamet on it, and the Dune Part 2 does come out, so he might be really hot off that. But I don't know. I don't know how big Wonka is anymore. I mean, I didn't know Wonka until like this movie was announced, and I was like, oh yeah, and I watched the movies and so on. But I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be a cultural hit or if it's going to be like a smaller scale hit. I'm not exactly sure. I don't think it's going to be a hit, but I don't know how big or small. That's why it's my honorable mention. Alright, now let's actually start ranking them from top 10. And number 10, not 5, 10. At number 10, what I think is going to be the 10th biggest movie of this year, worldwide, is going to be Dune Part 2. And I think this movie has a lot of potential to be such a huge hit. Why do I say that? Well, for starters, Dune is like, the first movie made some really good money, despite the fact that it was an HBO Max. So that's really interesting. And they had a really strong HBO Max viewership, as well as box office wise. So that just goes to prove that I do think that now that it's not even HBO Max, other audiences are going to come together to see this movie, which I think is pretty exciting. Second of all, I think it has this premium screen factor that Avatar had and that Top Gun Maverick had, where you had to watch these movies on IMAX because they're like made for that. They're made for like this premium viewing, and it definitely boosts up box office, as you've seen with Avatar: The Way of Water and Top Gun Maverick, and for the first part of this movie as well. So I could definitely see Dune Part 2 make a lot of money. However, I do feel like Dune 1 was a little bit less commercial than I thought it would have been, and I think Part 2 is going to be like that too. So I'm not exactly sure if it's actually going to be as big as, you know, say something like Quantamania or like a Mission Impossible, like a Mario movie. I don't think it's going to be as big, but I think it's going to be the next stepping stone on a huger franchise. Like I think by doing Part 3, I think we're talking a lot more money, but we're not that geared yet. But I do think it's going to be to the top 10, so I do think it's going to be a hit. I just don't know how big of a hit it's going to be. But I think it's going to be a big enough, or at least I'm sure that it's going to be a big enough hit to make it to the top 10. So yeah, that's it on my list. We'll see if it actually makes it. Very curious, but I think it has potential. Alright, moving on to my number 9 spot, and that is going to be Indiana Jones Part 5. And I think Indiana Jones 5 has a lot of potential for the reason that it's the return of this super classic character that everybody wants to see. I mean, come on, Indiana Jones, come on. But also, it has like the director from Logan, which is also super exciting. And the trailer definitely drove a lot of people crazy. Like I was watching, I haven't really watched Indiana Jones, to be honest. I wasn't really in the circle. But even as I was going to social media, I mean, everything was just like Indiana Jones whenever the trailer dropped. So it clearly means that Indiana Jones is a pretty big thing. And I don't think that's going to land at the box office. However, I ultimately think that it's going to depend on how good it is. Like I think it's still going to have to be like a really good movie to like be a huge hit, but I'm not sure yet, so I'm putting it here where I think that if it's like a good movie, like an average 8, not a 7, like a little bit above average, like an 8, I think that maybe this movie can make some pretty nice money, but it won't be anything higher unless it's like an amazing movie, like a 10 out of 10 movie. I think this movie could be like higher on the list by a lot, but so far I don't see it being on the like higher than number 9 spot. We'll see. I am very curious, but it's definitely going to be a wild card here. But I do think it's going to be number 9 spot. Okay, on to number 8 spot. I'm sorry, my finger really hurts. But number 8 spot, that's going to be Transformers Rise of the Beast. And the Transformers franchise is like huge. It's known for being huge, but it's slowly kind of died off because Michael Bay kind of run it to the ground. I mean, it really turned out terrible, especially for the 5th movie. That thing was bad. But anyways, so yeah, it ran it to the ground. That Bumblebee kind of put it higher, but the box office numbers did not go a lot higher. It was just like the audience scores and everything. And here's hoping that with this Transformers movie, we get something bigger and better than Bumblebee, box office wise, and also just as the movie. I think the movie was pretty good, but it was definitely a lot smaller scale. I mean, not that it was a really enjoyable movie. I really did like it, but it was a lot of a smaller scale. Where I think with this movie, it could be something actually like full-on war as we saw in the trailer. So I think this movie can honestly deliver some pretty strong box office. We have like Beast Transformers now, which I think sounds like a really cool concept. And once again, like I said, because this is a Transformers movie, I think we can finally have that war sense and a lot of really cool action scenes that I'm really looking forward to. So I think it's really going to depend just on how big the action scenes are going to be. I think it's really going to depend on the scope of the movie to see how big of a hit it's going to be. But I think at number 8, it hits pretty comfortably. And I also think that, once again, I think it has like that premium viewing as well, where you might want to watch this movie in IMAX just because it's like these huge giant things, maybe 3D, maybe even that. Not exactly sure. So I think it's going to be something really interesting. I just don't know what to expect from the movie yet because I saw one trailer and that's it. But I haven't seen anything else, so we'll see. I am very curious to see this, but I think it has potential to be a little bit higher. But if not, I think number 8 sounds like a pretty reasonable spot for it to be at. Alright, moving on to my number 7 spot, and that's going to be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And that kind of sucks because I love this movie, and I mean, I haven't seen the movie, but I love the first one, and I feel like this movie should be a number 1, to be honest, because that's the most anticipated movie of the year. But I'm not exactly sure if that's actually going to be the case. Just because the first one was not a box office hit. It was not a box office hit. I mean, it wasn't a flop. I wouldn't call it a flop either. But it wasn't a hit, despite the fact that it was Spider-Man. But just because it's animated, the animated movies tend to do worse in box office, unless it's Disney for some reason. Like, Disney does so much money, animated-wise, and Illumination. They do, like, so much money. Minions did a lot of money. And, like, Frozen or Zootopia all do a lot of money. But everything else doesn't do that much money. Like, Puss in the Boots is doing, it's good money, but it's not near, like, Zootopia level. So it's just interesting to just see that. And I think that's going to be no exception with this movie. However, I do think it's going to be a pretty big hit. Like, I still think it's going to be like the, I don't know, 700 millions. I think it's going to be like that big of a hit. Maybe even higher than that, 800 millions. Because the first one was just so well received. And even though being at the 800 millions means that it's going to double its box office, I believe it because everybody knows Spider-Verse now. Like when the first one came out, nobody really had a lot of idea what to expect. Nobody had a lot of high hopes either because Sony had just been doing a terrible job with their universe. And it wasn't connected to the MCU. Everybody was like, is this movie good or not? I just went to watch it because I was kind of bored. I was like, let's just go watch it in theaters. And then it turned out to be awesome. I was like, oh my god, everybody got to go see this movie. Nobody listened to me. But now that everybody's seen it like on Netflix or on streaming or wherever, now everybody wants to watch this movie. So I do think this movie's going to be a huge hit. I just don't know if it's going to be a bigger hit than the other movies in this list. But I do think it's going to make it to like 800 million or 700 million. I think that would be like a really awesome hit for this movie, and I would be so awesome for it. Especially if the movie is really good. Like if the movie is as good as the first one, and that's how the word of mouth spreads, then I think this movie's gonna make a lot of money. So yeah, super excited for this movie as well. Just super excited. I can't wait for it. But yeah, let's just move on. Alright, at number 6 spot, we have Quantamania, or Remake and the Wasp Quantamania. And this movie, I think, can be a pretty good big hit. We're gonna get a trailer today. I'm gonna react to it and everything. In fact, you might be watching this video after the new trailer came out. I don't know. But I am very excited for this movie. I'm like, yeah, let's watch Quantamania, yeah. It has Kang, obviously, and all that type of stuff. And this definitely seems like a lot of a bigger movie than the previous 2 movies. So I think it's definitely going to scale its box office up by a lot. However, I still don't know how much Ant-Man can per se draw into the box office. I mean, the previous movies haven't been like the biggest hits, but they haven't been the biggest flops. Like they've been like there. They're just like in the middle. Definitely like on way lower scale than for like compared to other Marvel movies. But I think it's, like I said, it's definitely gonna go up because it's a bigger scope. It has Kang and everything, and it seems to be the crucial for the next movie and their MCU going forward. So that's definitely gonna be like movie going, like you have to go see this movie. But can I get like general people, like people that are just like, should we go to the movies? What movie should we watch? Can I get that type of audience? I'm not exactly sure. And the reason for this is just that I don't know how good of a movie can be. I really thought Ant-Man and the Wasp was gonna be a good movie, and whenever I saw it, I was really disappointed by it. I did not like it personally. I love the first one, but I didn't like this one, the second one. So I'm kind of just putting hopes that this movie is good enough, like an average 7 or 8, to the point where it makes its box office. However, if it like delivers for one, like if it's actually like really good, then I think this movie can be like a lot higher. But I don't think that. I don't think it's gonna be like a 6 or 7. Just judging from the first trailer, I wasn't impressed by it or nothing. So that's my thoughts on it. We'll see. I really have to wait to see this trailer. And the movie does come out in February, where it has no competition. So there is a very high chance that this movie makes a lot of box office, which I didn't mention for my previous ones. But Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse comes out in a place where there's a lot of competition, so I could hurt a lot. And same thing for Wasp Beast and Indiana Jones Part 5. All those movies come in a place in the middle of summer where there's a lot of competition. Whereas Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania comes in a place where like there is no competition. It's February. You haven't got the competition for like a very long time. So it could make a lot of money. We'll wait and see, but that's my guess. Number 6. Alright, entering the top 5, and that is going to be the Mario movie. And I don't think that this movie can make a lot of money. First of all, because of its Illumination. Illumination makes a lot of money with every animated movie, no matter how bad it is, which annoys me. But it's just, that's just the way it works, I guess. So yeah, Mario movie, I think it's going to make a lot of money just by that fact. Second thing, Mario is like arguably the most iconic character in gaming, or maybe like the biggest character in gaming. Just like he's just super well known. I mean, and it's like for all the way back then, from like back in the day. So obviously Mario is gonna draw a lot of an audience. I think it's just by default. Even if the movie sucks, I think the movie's still gonna be a box office hit. That's just the way it works. I think that's just the way it works. And the movie itself, from the trailers, it doesn't look bad. I actually think I like the first trailer a lot more than the second trailer, but they both look pretty good. I'm like, this movie actually looks pretty strong. It doesn't look like it's going to be like Spider-Verse level or nothing, but it looks like pretty strong level. I'm like, yeah, this actually looks pretty solid. So yeah, I'm excited for this movie, and I do think it can be a box office hit. It might be even bigger than number 5. It might be a lot higher. It might make it to $1 billion. It just really depends on how good the movie is and the word of mouth and everything. And it doesn't come out in a place with a lot of competition either, so it definitely has that going for it. So I do think the movie can make a lot of money, and it definitely will make a lot of money. The question is how much? I'm not exactly sure, but I will put it at number 5, or like higher than 800 million, like around 800 million to like 900 million. I think it's going to be the place. Might even make $1 billion, like I said. We'll see. I am very curious to see where this movie lands. But, you know, Chris Pratt has been controversial, and the voices have been a little bit controversial. So it's just really going to depend on how good the movie is. I am very curious on that. But the movie, number 5, I think that's pretty well seated. I do think it's going to make more than Quantamania and then Across the Spider-Verse, sadly. But I am excited for it. I'm very excited. And it's just Mario. I mean, come on. What do you expect from Mario? He is Mario. So yeah, that's where I think it stands. Alright, moving on to my number 4 spot. And that's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And this movie is promised to be the end of the trilogy, where you don't know which character is going to die. And we saw the trailer, and it looked super sad. It looked amazing, too, to be honest. Like, that's the reason why I'm putting it this high up and not below Mario. And that's because, or Quantamania. And that's because I think the trailer just looked really strong compared to the other 2 movies. The trailer looked surprisingly, like, actually really, really, really strong. And the franchise has been growing. The past movie made like 800 and something million. So I definitely think this movie is going to make higher than that. Especially since, like, the kind of like the new MCU norm is like to make 800 million or 900 million, somewhere across those margins. I think this movie is going to definitely pass the second volume, and I think it might even reach to $1 billion, just because I think since it's the end of the trilogy and you have all these characters' deaths and everything, I think it could honestly work really, really well together to be like a huge box office hit. I think it has a lot of potential, and James Gunn is a lot of a harder director now than he was back in Volume 3, with him now running DC. I mean, it's just going to be crazy to see how that movie works. I'm very excited for it, to be honest. So yeah, I think that this movie can be a really nice box office hit, and Chris Pratt has shown that he can draw box office numbers. Besides Mario, I don't know about Mario, but like with Jurassic World, he drew a lot of numbers in. It made $1 billion. So if that can make $1 billion, I think it's gonna make $1 billion. And so yeah, I'm really excited for it. And I just think for general audiences are gonna want to see which character dies and which character doesn't die. So yeah, I think that this movie is gonna be a box office hit. All right, moving on to my 3rd spot. That is going to be Fast X or Fast 10. Sorry, my voice is like dying. I'm really trying to finish this video. But Fast X or Fast 10. And I think this movie, despite the previous movie not having the best received from the fans or critics, I think this movie is still going to be a huge hit. I mean, the past movie still made $750 million or more, whenever the pandemic was still at barely finishing. So yeah, I think this movie is definitely going to make a lot of money. Definitely like towards $1 billion, I think, or like 900 million. I think that's pretty obvious. We have new stars, Jason Momoa coming in, Brie Larson coming in. I mean, you have like all these new actors coming in. Like, I think they're going to be surrounded with Danila Melchor from Suicide Squad. I mean, all these actors, and you have the main actors coming back. And there's like the rumor that Gal Gadot's coming back, which I don't think is going to confirm at all. And until the movie comes out, and that's going to cause a huge hype wave and everything, which is pretty smart. You're going to have the marketing from in the Super Bowl and everything. So I mean, I just think Fast X, it's just a franchise that always delivers at the box office, and no matter what, it's definitely gonna be a box office hit, like for sure. But the fact that it's like the part 1 of the finale of this franchise, I think it's gonna make it even bigger. And I think that it will be number 3rd spot of like the worldwide box office this year, just because it's just a franchise that always delivers, and it's just like the finale too. Just like Once Galaxy Volume 3, just because it's like it has this finale feel to it. You kind of have to watch it movies because it's like the end. So yeah, I think that's gonna be super awesome, and I cannot wait for it. I think it's gonna be. I just want to see the trailer for it, and I want to see what's up to with it and everything. So yeah, I'm excited. It's really ridiculous, and last time they went to space. I don't know what's next, but I'm excited. So yeah, if that movie's gonna hit $1 billion, or I think it's gonna hit $1 billion, well, in my second spot, I think it's also gonna hit $1 billion. That's going to be Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, I'm gambling with this one because this franchise is a franchise that never makes that much money. I think the last one made like 700 million or 800 million, and that was like the highest ever made. For some reason, it's just never been that big. But Tom Cruise is a way bigger actor now, just thanks to Top Gun Maverick. I mean, Top Gun Maverick made so much money box office wise, and I think Tom Cruise is like definitely a way harder star now. So I think everyone's gonna want to see what his next movie is going to be. Besides that, Dead Reckoning, I mean, you've seen a bunch of stunts, and stunts go crazy, and they definitely drive the theaters crazy. And it is a part 1, and again, it does. I don't know if it's gonna end, but it does have that finale ending once again. So yeah, I'm very curious to see where this movie lands. But just because Tom Cruise has so much star power now coming off Top Gun Maverick, I think that this movie is going to be the biggest of the franchise no matter what, which I think is going to be like at 800 million or 900 million. So no matter what, I think this movie is going to be like on the top 5. But I think it can even make it to the second spot, just because, especially since the Mission Impossible franchise has consistently been really good. I think this movie continues to be like really, really good at it. Then it's going to get to second spot. I think it has a really high chance at it. And like I said, this is a gamble for me, but just Tom Cruise and the fact that this movie is always so good, that this franchise is always so good, I have hope on this to be the second spot, and I'm really excited for it. I cannot wait for it. The movie sounds awesome. So yeah. Alright, moving on to my number 1 spot, and this was gonna be kind of surprising even for me as I was looking through the movies. I was like, oh yeah, that movie. And that's going to be The Little Mermaid. And The Little Mermaid, I think, is going to be the biggest movie of the year, for the good or for the bad. I think I'm very excited for it, but also I don't know if it should be the biggest, but that's just how the way it works. Why? Well, Disney movies that are like remade into live action are consistently at the top of the box office. Like Lion King has like $1.7 billion, which is insane. Aladdin passed $1 billion, which is insane. Beauty and the Beast passed $1 billion. I mean, all these live action movies just passed $1 billion for some reason. Like they're just that big. And Little Mermaid is more iconic than I would say Aladdin or maybe even like Beauty and the Beast. I think The Little Mermaid is like, for me, whenever I was growing up, the way I was portrayed, it's like the movie. Along with Lion King, like those were like the movies that I think were like the biggest for like Disney from that like that animated time. I might be missing some. I'm definitely blanking out. But The Little Mermaid is definitely like something that I think is going to be a huge hit if the songs deliver. I mean, if the songs deliver, they're going to be all across the internet, and when they're all across the internet, that means the movie is going to get a lot of box office. Just like a Frozen over here with Let It Go. So the songs are going to make it a hit. Just the fact that it's like so iconic, it's going to make it a hit. So yeah, no matter what, this movie's going to make $1 billion. I have no doubt in my mind about it, unless the movie like absolutely sucks, which I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the movie's going to be pretty good actually. So just because of that, I just think the movie is going to be a box office hit for sure, and it's probably going to be the biggest one, just because, especially since Lion King made like $1.7 million. I mean, this movie can make a lot of money. So yeah, probably the biggest hit of the year. And so yeah, we made it to the end. That is my personal predictions for the top 10 biggest box office hits of 2023. Tell me what you think about it down in the comments. Which ones do you agree with? Which ones do you disagree with? I'm very curious. So tell me your own predictions down in the comments. I am very curious. I really want to hear them. As well as just make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. It'll be very helpful. I really put a lot of effort into this video. It took a long time and my voice is like half dead. So please leave a like. It really helps our videos a lot. As well as subscribe for a lot of your content. A lot of other box office breakdowns and whatnot, like Puss in Boots and Avatar going on right now, and Megan, which just came out. So all those box office breakdowns. Hopefully my voice is a little bit better by those videos. And covering obviously all the movies in this list. So yeah, just make sure to subscribe for all that content coming this whole year. Like, you have a lot of content, so subscribe for all that content. And yeah, that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And this is JFG Entertainment, out.